All right, I'm gonna try to keep this in 5 minutes really quickly. I just want to begin by just noting what Brianna said, my connection to UC Davis. I always try to take the opportunity to just share my gratitude to the campus and many colleagues there who helped both support my career development, but also my education and mentorship. So special thanks, to Kurt and Josh, especially for the many hours that they've given me in shaping my thinking and the work that I do today. So start with the role of the Energy Commission. For those of you who are not as familiar, Energy Commission has broadly 4 elements that we do. Thinking through the data gathering side of it. So we are supposed to be a data repository for the state, gather data and disseminate the data necessary for energy transition, but also really look at the policy and planning element, be a neutral venue for that. And also, thirdly, we have some statutory work we do, permitting power plants and developing building codes and such. And finally, one of the most important elements of the Energy Commission is to be a clean energy investment vehicle for the state. So we have almost $10 billion coming into CEC for putting it out there for a variety of grant programs and incentive programs over the next 10 years for moving the decarbonization conversation forward. Also want to just note, given that Dr. Madsen spoke just before me, I was in Denmark earlier this year, super impressed with the amazing work Denmark and a bunch of our European colleagues are doing on the offshore wind especially. It's really impressive, and we have a number of collaborations. So just want to thank Dr. Matthijssen and also the Danish universities for all the work they're doing. So I want to go into just level setting. I have 5 slides. I want to go through just top line messages. First message, is California as a whole has, been making steady and good progress towards not only our renewable energy goals, but also the zero carbon goals. So as you see here on this slide, 2013, we were at 41%. 22% of that came from renewables. When we talk about zero carbon, we also add hydro and on the top of that, nuclear. So and then you come into 2020, it's at about 59%. It goes up and down depending on how much hydro we have any given year. So drought does affect that number. And we are now on our path to 2045 to get 100% zero carbon. Along the way, more recent legislation sets up goals of 90% in 2035, 95% in 2040, and all the way to 100% in 2045. Second, so the first point is we're making good progress. For us to get to those goals, though, means incredible amount of renewable build. We're talking about potentially tripling or even quadrupling the energy system that we have. Given that California's carbon neutrality goal is fundamentally premised on a large swaths of the economy becoming electrified, we have then to build, the amount of electricity that is required that is clean. So just kind of giving you a scale, we have to continuously go at about a 3x of our build rates currently in solar and wind, and also about an 8x in terms of storage. So this is just on the bulk side. We're not talking about the distribution side. So on the bulk side, we have a massive buildup that we need to do, which have a variety of constraints, that I'm going to talk about in a second. So while we are going through those 2 things, which is, we're doing a good progress, we have ambitious goals in terms of build outs, we're also being hit with extreme weather. When we talk about the difficulties we had this year in September, for example, partly the planning is still evolving. We don't have robust historical information to really plan for these kind of events. But at the same time, every year is a new normal, new high that we are being hit with. So this slide here gives you one of the many factors that affect the vulnerability of our grid, and just specifically looking at temperature. So as you see here, this is about 35 years worth of temperature data for months of July, August, and September. And what you see there is a weighted temperature across the state, taking into account maxima and minima at different places. So as you see there, we're getting more and more peaks in more recent years that are outside the band of the historical in the band that we have. And also they're becoming longer and longer. So the effect of the longer, the amount of time a heat wave or a heat dome exists is just that we don't get the cooling the previous night or the previous day. So the cumulative heat goes up, and then the electric demand goes up along with that. So that's an incredible issue. So in 2022, we have seen one of the longest stretches of the heat domes that we've ever had, and current consensus is the September heat wave was the worst we've ever experienced in terms of history, based on the length of time and the intensity of it. So that kind of induces us into this issue of how do we talk about the reliability. Several factors here are compounding. Brianna, let me know if I can close this off in a minute or so.
Yeah, take an extra minute, Siva.
Okay, so there's fundamentally many topics that are happening here, all the way from are we authorizing enough build, to are we building fast enough, to how are we going to take care of this extreme heat, and finally how do we take care of a coincidental fire risk, for example, a large fire taking off a huge generation asset. This is the last slide I have. Just wanted to give you all a preview of what happened on September 6th. What you're seeing here is high-level points. One, an average September electricity demand is 44.5 gigawatts. We experienced 52, and we were on track for 53. And if not for that red line there, we have a massive drop in the demand, because we all got an alert and 28 million Californians turned off their lights. We wouldn't have kept the lights on. And also UC Davis did a huge part of it. So thanks to UC Davis for participating in our grid reliability programs and helping us keep the lights. So we're doing a good job. We need to do a lot more, and climate change is becoming increasingly difficult to deal with.